What's up, Bulldogs? All right, I had a good topic that I think we should talk about today, which is that you need to develop your own philosophy for life, that you have to have your own wisdom. You cannot just quote other people. You cannot just lean on the wisdom of other people. And I think that's, a little bit ironic considering that you're watching this video and I'm telling you this. and you could say that this is part of what I'm telling you to do. But you have to understand, though, that the thing is, it is good to learn from people. And I have learned from a lot of people. But one of the things I would say that makes me somewhat unique in this space of personal development for men, we'll call it, is that most of the things that I talk about, a majority of them, are things that are self-originating, meaning that they came from me. They are my own philosophy. They're the things that I came up with on my own and have decided to expand upon and talk about. And so, and again, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. That's not what this is about. It's not like, oh, look how cool John is. My point is that a lot of guys never really develop and never grow because they never develop their own philosophy in life. And you really have to do this, right? You can take what I'm teaching you, and I think that's great. And I love if you join the Bulldog Mindset membership, by the way. If you haven't, click the link down below and jump in there. That is the primary place to be a Bulldog. It's a huge community, tons of lessons on everything in there. But my point is that if you haven't developed your own philosophy for life, then you're just going to constantly be stuck, right? You're never going to reach that next level. Like, you're going to improve your life, right? You're going to learn some discipline. Maybe you're going to get in shape. Maybe you're going to have some success with women, but you're never going to truly be a leader because in order to be a leader, you have to have your own ideas and you have to develop your own ideas, right? And some of those ideas, maybe they would conflict with mine. That's fine. But hopefully even that you would take the jumping points that I'm giving you and you would expand upon those and develop your own philosophies off of those things. And that's what I've tried to do, right? I read books. I'm going through Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics right now. And, even, I haven't gone through this book yet, but, I look at a lot of perspectives. I read a lot of books on a lot of topics and I hear what people have to say, psychologists, therapists, scientists, things like that. And then philosophers, and then I take what they have given me, and some of it I throw out because it's not right. But other things I'll take, and then I will take the next point from that. I will jump from that. I will stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And I think that is really important because that's how things advance, right? And so a lot of the stuff, like I said, that you're going to hear from me is going to be totally unique because it's coming directly from me, whereas a lot of other people kind of repeat the same thing that they've heard. And I'm not saying that I've never said something that someone else has said or passed on some wisdom or tried to reteach something that someone else has said. But a lot of times, even if I'm doing that, I'm trying to do it in a simplified way. So I'm taking a concept that's complex. I'm trying to make it simple. In fact, that was the name of my first blog. Simple Programmer was called Taking the Complex and Making It Simple, or Making the Complex Simple. That was the tagline for that blog. But my point is that you have to do this yourself, right? You can't just be a person that reads books and absorbs information. In fact, Seneca, in his letters, as I'm going through it on my other channel, he talks about this all the time, right? He is constantly talking to his student, Lucilius, and he's like, look, you cannot just read these books, right? And when you do read books, you need to reread the books, not just have a whole ton of books that you're reading, but then after that, you need to own the stuff for yourself. You need to take what is your own, right? And develop your own philosophy and start teaching what you're learning, right? And again, it doesn't mean that every single one of you guys has to have a platform like I do and make public YouTube videos and teach men. I think some people try to emulate that. They're like, okay, well, I guess I need to teach men personal development as well. And that's not necessarily the case, right? But it does mean that you still need to develop your own philosophy, your own system for doing things, right? Even if you're not necessarily teaching it in public, but when you talk to your friends, when you talk to the girl that you're with, when you raise your children, that you've got some set of principles that you have created for yourself, some philosophy that you're choosing to live your life, and that you share that information, and because that's what's also going to help you to expand upon that and to grow as a person. And you're really going to be stagnant if you don't don't do this, right? And that, again, like I said, I see this so much. I see so many people, and I see people overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed right now. You might be overwhelmed with personal development content, right? What is all the stuff that you need to do? You need to get blue light blockers, you need to meditate, and you need to read a book a week, and you need to do all these things, right? Because people tell me this all the time, and sometimes I can feel overwhelmed with it too. But the thing is that you can't cram all of this stuff that other people are telling you inside of your life and do it all. Instead, what you have to do is you have to take some of this stuff and maybe take some of the stuff and actually implement that into your life. But then you have to develop your own life philosophy, right? Because you're otherwise you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to feel like you're never done. And there's all this personal development, all these books you need to read, all this information that you need to intake. Whereas you probably already have enough, honestly. You probably already have enough where you could just sit down and you could just think things through, right? And a lot of what I figured out in life was how to think things through and to figure out, and as I thought these things through, man, then the answers came to me, right? And I did this not just in life in terms of relationships and social skills or discipline or mindset, but also in terms of money, right? I sat down with spreadsheets when I was first figuring out real estate investment. Yeah, I read some books on real estate investment, but it didn't really give me all of the answers. But when I ran the numbers myself and looked at the math and thought about, okay, strategically, how could this work, and what can I do with this loan, and how will this end up being in the long run, and how will I make money? That's what I did. And to some degree, right? I'll have to say that with business, I still have some work to do in that area in thinking about, I have followed business models that are working and that are existing. And to a degree, that's not necessarily bad advice, right? If you see someone that's already doing something that works, I think that's good to follow that. But, if you really want to blow up, if you really want to make a lot of money, if you really want to become successful, you're gonna have to develop your own philosophy, right? It's one thing to use the marketing tactics that everyone does, and those things eventually fade over time, as you can see, right? And you've seen me do it, right? I have, in fact, even now, if you want to become financially free, I've got a program called The Well That Never Runs Dry, and you can DM me the word YouTube on Instagram, and you can get into that. But what you'll see is that it's a similar thing that a lot of people are doing. Now, that doesn't mean that what I have to provide is not valuable. It's of course valuable, and I can help you. We have weekly group coaching calls, and this is all valuable stuff. But what I'm saying is that the marketing to that, it's kind of dull, right? It might not work so well. Maybe if I came up with my own way to pitch this or promote this thing, it might work better. But I haven't sat down and really thought about that, and partially because it's scary. And I think that's where it kind of comes down to, is like coming up with your own ideas and coming up with your own philosophies in life is sort of scary. And that's why most people just follow the path. And again, not to say that you shouldn't start with that, right? There's a really good book by Robert Greene called Mastery, right? And it's a long book, but he talks about this idea that you should first be an apprentice. So first learn, right? You're watching these videos. If you haven't joined the Bulldog Mind membership, click the link down below. Definitely join that. Believe me, it's going to be well worth it for you to do that. But once you pass that stage of mentorship, you have to move on, and you have to now become the teacher. If not the teacher to other people, but the teacher in your own life, where you're going to sit down and you've got the information that you need, and now you just need to process that information, right? And when was the last time that you sat down and really thought about, instead of Googling or asking someone else, how can I make a girl more interested in me, or whatever it is? When was the last time you sat down and thought about psychologically what makes sense? Like, what have I seen? What behaviors have I seen? What kind of things could I do? What kind of things are going to result in the action? If I do this action, what is the likely result of this? When's the last time that you mapped that all out and came up with philosophy? Or when you even just thought about, like, why are things the way that they are? Right? Again, this is philosophy, and this is why philosophy is such an important study and important part of your life. It's not just to read other people's philosophy, but to learn how to think like a philosopher, right? To think about and say, okay, I remember when I was first facing issues of anger, right? And I was like, why do I get angry? And I figured it out. I was like, okay, it's because I have this. I expect this thing. I expect the world to be a certain way, or someone to do something. They don't do it, and then that makes me upset, right? And so it's this unmet expectation. And so that's where I developed that whole philosophy. And I've never heard of anyone else talk about that. It's a model that I use, and I'm sure that it's fairly accurate, and other people probably approach it from a different perspective. But it makes sense to me because I thought through that, and I'll never forget that thing. And it becomes sort of the thing about philosophy is that if I tell you something, all right, it may affect your life to a small degree, or when you remember it, oh yeah, remember John said to do this. Okay. But if you think it through yourself, what's going to happen is that it's going to become like you're instantly going to gain that enlightenment, right? Because you have developed that thinking for yourself. So that's what I implore you to do, is to sit down today, spend an hour, and just think about one of your problems and come up with your own philosophy for that, and then test it out in the real world and see how that works. All right, guys. If you haven't already, like I said, join the Bulldog Mindset membership. That's where we talk about all these things, and I'll see you tomorrow.